What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Veronica, and we are back with the top 5 mistakes we see project managers making. All right. If you are new to project management, you want to make sure that you are avoiding these top 5 things like the plague. They never work out and they always make you look bad. All right. So, you guys already know how we do it here on this channel. We're going to give you the game just so that you can run the play. All right, so if you're looking for the top 5 mistakes that you can avoid as a project manager, then stick around because that's what we're about to talk about. All right, y'all, so let's get started with number 5. All right. You guys have probably seen memes like this on the internet, okay? They'll say something along the lines of, when a meeting could have been an email. There is nothing that people hate more than their time being wasted with yo fluff. All right. So, coming in at number 5 is scheduling too many meetings that could have been emails. Sometimes project managers get a bad rep. We do tend to schedule a lot of meetings, we tend to facilitate a lot. Sometimes we have a lot to say. But you don't want to schedule meetings just so you can listen to yourself talk. And everybody knows when you're doing it, okay? You're not fooling anybody. Everybody knows and everybody hates it, all right? That is the quickest way for you to lose friends. You don't want to just be scheduling meetings willy-nilly to make it look like you're working. And the key here is that when you're really working, boo, you don't got to make it look like you're working, okay? Because you're already doing that. So you want to avoid scheduling needless meetings, all right? I know sometimes it can feel like you need to fill in the gaps a little bit. Maybe things are too chill. You don't want people to think nothing's happening on your project. But just because you might not be doing a lot in that moment doesn't mean that your team isn't busting their butt. They're doing a lot of that work. They're providing that subject matter expertise. They're driving the project forward and they're in the trenches on that granular level. Okay. You don't want to take out any of that time and take it away from them unless it's absolutely necessary and it's going to be value added for them. So we don't schedule meetings just for fluff. Okay. That is not what a good project manager does. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, Veronica, I do need to schedule a lot of meetings. So, what do I do if that's the case? My advice to you is to niche down your audience. Okay. I was talking to my aunt the other day. She's a software engineer, and she told me that she was on a meeting that had 45 attendees. 45. Why? Are we going to be listening to 45 people talk during this meeting? The answer is we hope not. All right. A lot of the times we can niche down our audience by just being specific about who needs this information conveyed in an interactive manner. Everybody else can get it from a knowledge repository or read the meeting minutes or feel free to send out an email. Okay. But don't waste people's times with needless meetings just so you can get up and do your song and dance. Okay. Everybody knows it's a dog and pony show. Nobody is interested. All right. We got other things to do. So that one is number 5. We don't schedule meetings that could be emails. Coming in at number 4 is going to be avoiding your stakeholders. Ooh, I see people doing this all the time. So let's just level set here real quick. For those of you who are relatively new to project management, your stakeholders are defined as any individual or group of people who may be impacted or perceive themselves to be impacted by the work that's happening within your project. AKA, these people have skin in the game because there's going to be some type of impact on them based on the work that you guys are doing. Now, look, I'm no stranger to unruly stakeholders. All right. Every now and again, you're going to have some stakeholders who are a little bit too much in your business. They're overstaying their welcome. All right. They're giving you a lot of opinions that you don't necessarily want to hear. But honestly, that's just par for the course. It doesn't give you an excuse to avoid them. All right. At the end of the day, you're going to run into some instances where you need your stakeholders to advocate on your behalf. Maybe you need more time. Maybe you need more resources. You might possibly need more money, okay? And you're less likely to get those things if you have a long list of enemies in your stakeholders, or you've just been avoiding them altogether and they're not engaged in your project work at all and they don't know what's going on. Okay. So, as much as we want to avoid our stakeholders and tell them to buzz off and leave us alone, unfortunately, that's not going to be conducive to success for us. We have to keep in mind that we do value the input of our stakeholders and we want them engaged in our work as much as possible, even if it can be annoying. All right. Keep in mind that they are impacted by what we do. So their requirements, their expectations, they do matter. And if you want to be successful in the role as a project manager, that's not something that you want to avoid or the type of people you want to put on the back burner. All right. Keep them engaged, keep them involved, and don't tuck tail and run the other way just because they're giving you an opinion that you don't want to hear. That's number 4. Now we're talking about number 3, and that's going to be under communicating. All right. Now look, sometimes, like we said, project managers can talk a lot. Okay. We know that, but you don't want to go the complete opposite of that and under communicate. Okay. What happens when you under communicate as a PM is that there are people involved in your project that are not informed. They don't know what's going on. They don't know if you guys are running into problems. They don't know if the project's going really well and you guys are ahead of schedule. They don't know if you're overspending. They don't know if you're underspending. Nobody knows what's happening because you're holding everything so close to the chest, all right? You would rather over communicate than under communicate. Now, you may be asking yourself, okay, Veronica, well, how do I make sure that I'm given the right amount of communication? And the best way for you to do that is by building out a communications plan. I never run a single project without a communications plan in place. What that does is it lets everybody know when streamlined communication is going to be taking place. So, how often am I going to be having meetings with my team? How often am I going to be updating my stakeholders? And how often am I going to be giving formal presentations and updates to my sponsors? All right. When you build out a communications plan, that lets everybody know when they can anticipate to hear from you. So nobody's going to go 10 days and say, man, I haven't heard from Veronica. I wonder what's going on with that project. They're going to be able to look at my communications plan and say, oh, it says that every Friday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, she sends out an email that has a project update. That's probably buried in my inbox somewhere under all the other stuff that I'm dealing with. Let me go and look for it. All right. And it saves you from getting a random phone call from a stakeholder asking you, hey, what's going on? Because they'll know, oh, my project update is probably in my inbox. All right. So you want to make sure that you are keeping people informed. 90% of what you do as a project manager is communicate. And a lot of the times, the organizations that we work in, they operate in what we call silos. That means that all the finance people hang out with other finance people. All the marketing people, they only know other people in marketing, right? That's how organizations are structured. So another way that you can ensure that you're keeping those channels of communication open is by making sure that you are building bridges between those silos. All right. Introduce your different resources from different functional areas to each other. Introduce your different stakeholders to each other. Try to really build that team quality and unity so that when you're conveying a message, it gets reaffirmed in between those parties. All right. So that'll help you out just a little bit there as well. But what you don't want to do is under communicate. You definitely want to make sure that everybody is staying informed. Now, we're down to number 2. All right. This one is important. And it should go without saying, but we're going to say it anyways because we see people making this mistake all the time. And that is not documenting enough. Documentation is your friend. It is not your enemy, okay? The best way for you to CYA is for you to document, and that means everything, okay? Whenever you're having meetings, make sure somebody's taking meeting notes, All right. When you're building out your project plan, all the different aspects around your strategy, they should be documented. When you're going through and identifying your stakeholders, that should be documented in a stakeholder register. Okay. The way that you're spending money, that should be documented in your budget management plan. There's so many different templates, there's so many different tools that you can use, but so many times we see project managers that want to kind of shortcut that process and say, it takes a lot of time, I'm not worried about it right now, or I don't think that it's that important. Well, sometimes you have to go slow in the beginning to go fast in the end. Okay. You have to really make sure that you're putting the proper amount of preparation and effort in before you try to execute an initiative, or else you'll shoot yourself in the foot every time. Okay. You should have thorough documentation. There's no excuse for you not to. And the devil is in the details. Okay. Now, if you have any experience as a project manager, then you know all it takes is for you to miss one requirement, and the next thing you know, you can't even meet the success criteria for your project. That's a fancy way of saying you miss one important thing and the whole thing's over. Okay, so each individual component matters. But because there's so many moving parts that are happening in a project, it doesn't make sense for you to try to store them all up here. Honey, we live in the technological age. Okay, that means leverage the technology. Sit down at your computer, type in a little some, and then you can always reference that documentation to help keep you and your team accountable as you're executing your initiative. All right, so document. That's definitely going to be the key. All right, guys, we have arrived at number one. Okay, this is the number one mistake we see project managers making. I know you guys are probably like, oh my gosh, what is it? She's already covered so many wonderful gems so far in this video. Thanks, guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. But I digress. Okay. The number one thing you want to avoid as a project manager is hiding when you're having issues. Do not think that you can start running into all these issues in your project and you're just going to sweep them under the rug, hoping that you're going to fix them before anybody notices. You're not going to fix them before anybody notices. It always comes to light. All right. Maybe it'll be your sponsors who ask. Maybe it'll be your key stakeholders. It might even be your resources that put you on blast. The people on your own team that are like, well, so-and-so hasn't brought up this issue that we've been having for the past several weeks, and it's a major problem. When we think about the work that we do, we have to recognize that we're all people. We're all human. We all make mistakes. If we mess up on something or if we're running into challenges, we need to ask for help. We need to let somebody know, hey, I'm in a bind. We're running into this issue and we haven't been able to figure out a workaround for it. Can you tell me kind of where I can go to get access to some subject matter expertise that can help us resolve this? Okay? You don't hide it. If you go throughout your project and you gain this reputation of hiding things when they're not going according to plan, you are going to lose the respect of your team, you're going to lose the respect of your stakeholders, and you're going to lose the respect of your sponsors. You might even end up losing your job, okay? Because there's so many L's that you can take before they're like, we're just going to go ahead and cut this one loose. There's more project managers out there, all right? Don't feel like you have to hide things to save your reputation. If something's going wrong, just say that. Come clean. Tell people that you need help. Tell them you need access to more resources. Tell them you need thought partnership to help you brainstorm around a resolution. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why you have a team. Okay? You don't have to know everything. You just need to know people that know things. All right, that's your role as a project manager. So do not make the mistake of trying to hide when things are going wrong on your project. All right, when things are going wrong, that's when you blow the whistle. That's when you alert your sponsor or when you contact your stakeholders and tell them, hey, something's up, we need help. All right, not when you try to sweep things under the rug. It's always going to come back and bite you in the backside. I promise. So those are going to be the top 5 mistakes that we see project managers make. We want you guys to avoid them at all costs. But hey, you know how we do it around here. We just give you the game and you guys got to run the play. If you think this video was beneficial, definitely hit us with a like, subscribe to the channel, make sure you turn on that little notification bell, and drop us some comments. We always want to hear you guys' feedback, okay? In the meantime, in between time,